Thank you all for coming to Denny's celebration of life, and boy, what a remarkable life he had. Know that each of you here today have touched both Denny and I's life in a positive way, just as I hope we did yours. He so loved his family, friends, animals, nature. Just overall, he was a true lover of life and was such a gifted musician. His spirit was so very caring, with a tenderest and emotional touch, and when we both got together, we complimented each other so well. I think it made each of us a better person. At least I know it did me. We both felt like we became whole when we became a couple, and it was just so easy to live and work together side by side 24/7 during most of our married life. We really made a good team. It was not hard for either of us to be happily married. It was like second nature for us. We would miss each other after only a few short hours away. This is the hardest thing by far that has ever happened to me. I may get a little teary eyed during this speech, but please bear with me. I will miss my best friend for the rest of my earthly days, but I do believe in an afterlife, and I know Denny's spirit will be there to guide me as I transfer over to the other side when my time comes. When you think of eternity, this life here on earth is not even a blink of an eye. I cannot put into words how much I will miss him. With that being said, I made a promise to him that I would be all right, and as hard as it may be for me to do, I do intend to keep my promise to him. I will try to move on and hope to find happiness again one day. I know he would want that for me just as if the tables were turned. I certainly would want that for him. So here are a couple stories about us. We love to surprise each other and love to make each other smile. I called him my music man, and I the smile giver. Danny and I were best friends for gosh, I'm thinking 10 to 15 years before we even thought of becoming a couple. As friends do, they keep in contact. We would always share stories about each other's good days, bad days, give each other advice and support when needed. We would go horseback riding together, go out to lunch, just friends type stuff, nothing romantic, just friends. Denny was always the perfect gentleman. He was married prior, and so was I, both of us a couple times even. Then we each had boyfriends or girlfriends, so he would come to me asking advice on women, and I to him about men. One day, I called him during his lunch break at work and said, "Well, I'm going to do it. I'm going to get a divorce. It's time. I can't live like this anymore." I said, "Do you want to stop and have a bite to eat and drink after work tomorrow? Feel like I need to talk to somebody." He said, "Sure." So we agreed to meet at this little cafe bar in Lindstrom, Minnesota. This little cafe was pretty close to each of our places of employment. We had to drive past it every day on our way back homes from work. So I get to the cafe and Danny is already waiting and sitting in a booth. I say hi. I sit down and he hands me a present. I'm like confused. What's this? He said, "Just open it." So I proceeded to open it, and gosh, he stayed up all night, he said, and wrote me a song. It was in a frame, and he had it matted, and the song title was "In the Middle of the Night." And then he wrote verses out of each of the letters of the word love, starting like this: L is for Laurie, the woman of my life, the one I'd like to marry, if she would only be my wife. A friend, a love I've cherished, for years I held on tight, to thoughts and dreams about her in the middle of the night. I won't read the full song, but it is sitting back on one of the display tables should anyone like to read it in full. Well, to say the least, I was shocked. I think my jaw dropped, and I just sat there speechless. Then he said, "I love you. I have always loved you, and have been waiting for you all these years. You are not going to be with anybody, and I'm currently not with anybody. Now's the time for us. You must feel how this is right. We are right. I promise never to treat you bad, like the others did to you. That is my promise to you. If you do not feel the same about me, then I'm going to move away, maybe back west again. But I feel in my heart that we are supposed to be together, and I think you feel the same way. I know we would be good together, and I truly, truly love you." This was back in the year 1990, and we were married 1994. But we did move in together prior, right after my divorce finalized, and bought our 40-acre Wisconsin farm. I think we had 5 or 6 horses at one time, a couple dogs, a cat. It was an old dairy farm, and Denny converted the milk house into a music slash recording studio. He did a really nice job, and most of the music on his Reflection CD that we will be giving away copies of today was created and composed at our studio in Wisconsin. Here's how Denny got his first start to play in a band. We met Ricky Stage, a musician and now a longtime friend, in a small town in Wisconsin, not far from our farm. He talked to Danny and asked him if he would be interested in being a bass player for a group he was starting up, and that it would not be for a couple of weeks so he could have time to practice. Danny said, I never played a bass before, not sure if I could do it or not. No, don't think it's a good idea. I better not. I don't know how to play. Never been on stage before, and I only got a couple of weeks to learn. So, no, not going to happen. So, what I did was on my way home from work the next day, I stopped at the music store, explained to the clerk about what I needed and why, and had the clerk assist me in picking out a bass since I did not know what to look for a bag, amp, cords, and whatever else was needed. And I brought it home and said, Here you go. Denny gets a frown on his face and says, Why'd you go do that? I told you I was not going to do it. I said, Because I know you can do this. You're my music man. Music is what you were meant to do. Plus, if it's something you feel you can't do or do not want to do after trying it, that we can always return it back to the store. Well, 2 weeks later, there's Denny, was on stage playing bass, and he was doing a dang good job being a bass player. I think he said in 2 weeks he had to teach himself how to play and learn 26 songs. And that's how Denny's first time band playing live all started. I had to give him a little push, but then he was hooked. The band was called Eureka Gold, and that was in 1991, I believe. Here are 3 surprises we did to each other during our wedding and honeymoon. We'll only pick a few that we did to each other during this time frame, as there's just too many to go through all the various surprises we did for each other over our years of life together. So here's surprise number one. So the plan was to drive from our home in Wisconsin over to my brother-in-law's apartment complex about 40 miles away, and we were going to park our car in their garage. And our brother-in-law was going to drive us the other 50 plus miles to the airport as we were flying to Lake Tahoe to get married. So we get to the apartment complex and it's just about dawn, early dawn. It's just barely getting light. We pull into the parking lot and Denny sees a white stretch limo sitting in the parking lot. He jokingly says, There's our ride to the airport. I said, It is. He said, Yeah, right. I said again, It is. He said, Quit joking around. Where is the garage we're supposed to park in? What's the garage number? I don't want to be late to the airport. I directed him to the garage and we parked the car. We removed our luggage from the car and I started heading across the parking lot to the limo. Denny's behind me and says, Where are you going? Knock it off. I stopped and turned and said, I told you this was our ride to the airport. Well, then I see a big perma grin appear on his face. So for 50 plus miles on our way to the airport to get married, we got a ride in a white stretch limo while listening to Denny's music. Okay, on to wedding surprise number two. Okay, I know Denny is recreating a Moody Blues song. It was called Nights in White Satin, and he was going to, sing it and recreate all the music parts and stuff like that and put it on CD to play on our wedding. I thought, well, that's sweet. So I said, hey, how about we write each other our special vows? He said, oh no, I don't believe in that stuff. I said, well, how about if I write something just for you then? He said, prefer not to do that stuff. What the preacher says will be just fine, and well, we got the song to play, so that should be good enough. So I was a little bummed. Darn, I wanted to write something sweet, but I respected his wishes. So as we're at the podium saying our wedding vows, Denny plays his Moody Blue song. Well, I'll let you listen to what Denny did for our wedding.
This song, from beginning to end, I found in the heart of a friend. Nights in white satin, never reaching the end. Letters I've written, never meaning to send. Beauty I had always through the days as before. Just what the truth is, I can't say anymore. 'Cause I love you, yes I love you. Daisy and people, some hand in hand. Just what I'm going through, they can't understand. Some try to tell me that they cannot defend. Just what you want to be, you'll be in the end. And I love you, yes I love you. 'Cause I've written, never meaning to say. Beauty I had always missed, beauties I'd before. Just what the truth is, I can't say anymore, 'cause I love you. Years ago, I was introduced to a beautiful young woman, a woman with the same dreams and wishes in life as I. In time, we would each know in our hearts that we were right for each other, yet neither would let the other know till many years later. For during those years, a friendship and love would be built. A friendship and love that would take years of worry lines away from around my eyes. A friendship and love that would consistently fill my life with laughter and happiness. A friendship and love that would stand by me, encourage me, and inspire me in and throughout my love of music. A friendship and love that would grow and continues to grow in the eyes and hearts of our children. A friendship and love unmatched by any other. Today I will be marrying my best friend. Laurie, thank you for accepting this place by my side as my wife. I truly, truly love you.
Yes, it made me cry and get all emotional. Totally caught me off guard, but I should have known better. He always did and said mushy stuff. I guess I should have expected it, but he got me good. What a sweetheart and what a memory. Okay, surprise three. So now we're married and on our way to Oregon to visit with family, and then plan was to purchase a vehicle and drive back to Wisconsin, but stop along the way at various places to enjoy our honeymoon. Glacier Park was the first stop, I believe. This was back in the early 90s. There really is no internet yet, so the only way to set up lodging is to have brochures sent to you via mail, and then if you liked what you seen, you called to make your reservations. I ordered a few brochures and we both looked them over and we picked one that we thought looked good and reserved it for a week, and it was right at the outskirts of Glacial Park. Meanwhile, I called the lodge and let them know it was our honeymoon and asked if I shipped some things to them, would they set them up in the room for us as I wanted to surprise them. They said sure. So I packed up some items along with a little drawing sketch on how I'd like the things to be laid out in the room and shipped them off. And here are the few of the items I shipped. There's a bottle of champagne, a champagne opener, a bottle chiller with ice packs, champagne glasses, a framed poem that I wrote for him, a couple candles, his favorite candies that I had in a little heart-shaped container, napkins, had some flowers and a vase, and a few other things. So we're driving up to the lodge, and we pull in the parking lot outside, and Denny gets this frown on his face, and well, for some reason, Denny does not like the looks of the lodge. He says, I'm not staying here. I said, I don't think it looks that bad. He said again, I'm not staying here. It's not what I envisioned, and I'm not staying here. It doesn't look like the brochure. Well, I know what's waiting inside for him, the surprise. Plus, I knew the lodge staff put some effort into setting it up for us. So I said, let's just stay one night. We've been driving most of the day. Tomorrow we can find something else that may suit us better. He said, okay, one night, but we are leaving early morning. Whew, I was relieved that he did agree to one night. I go to the office and check us in and get the keys, and I hand the keys to Denny. He opens the door and he says, it looks like they decorated the room for us. Wow, that's unusual. How did they know what champagne and candy I like? I said, well, maybe open the card and see what it says. Maybe they do this for all their newly married guests. He reads the card and gets all warm and fuzzy and asked, well, how did I pull this one off? I told him what I did. Denny loved the surprise, but he said again, we are not staying here more than one night. Needless to say, we found other lodging for the remainder of our trip. These are just a couple surprises we did for each other during our wedding and honeymoon. There were quite a few more, but some things are better left unsaid. Let's just say Victoria's Secret may have had a part in one of the honeymoon surprises. One thing for certain, our lives together were filled with love, surprises, and laughter. Here's a more recent surprise just a few years ago. This one kind of backfired on me in a way. So we just flew back from our Hawaii cottage after the winter, maybe only 2 days since we arrived back home to Idaho, and we get a call from our renter. She says she has a plumbing issue. So we call a plumber. He snakes out all the lines and says all is fine. So cha-ching, over $400 bill later, and he goes on his way. A couple hours later, the renter says Still calls and says still slow toilets. The one in the hall flushes, but the one in the master bedroom flushes slow. And now she seems like she's getting a little perturbed. So I call the plumber back. He insists there is nothing wrong with the toilets, all is fine when he left. So we call a friend of ours to go check out the toilet issues, and he says, seems a bit slow, but everything seems to work. Renter is now really demanding. We fixed the issue, so we decided to fly Denny back there for, I think, 4 days so he could see hands on what's going on. We book him on the flight to leave the very next morning. He finds the problem, fixes it, and okay, so he's only been gone a few days. I get a bright idea to meet him at the airport with a large decorative sign with his name on it and a couple helium balloons. Sign is rather large, about 4 feet by 1 foot high, has flower lace decorated on it and different things like that. People in the airport are clearing the way for me, which I didn't expect, commenting, "What a beautiful sign! How long's he been gone? How sweet!" I let them know he has not been gone very long, just a few days, and thought I would surprise him and that maybe it embarrass him a little. So the other travelers still kept their distance, almost making a half circle around me. I was pretty much front and center when Denny came walking down. And I think he's going to get a little embarrassed when he sees me. Well, not. He sees me, the sign, shakes his head, looks down at the floor, and then gets emotional, which then makes me emotional. So now here we are, hugging each other, kissing, and carrying on like he just got back from Iraq or something after being deployed for a few years or something. The airport sign I made for him is back by his display table. He wanted to keep it and hung it up in the tiki bar, where it has hung until today. Denny and I have this very unique and strong bond. I know many married couples get this type of connection where you think the same thing at the same time as the other. It's pretty common. Just Denny and I's connection just seemed so very strong. To us, seemed was unusual. For instance, I went to the grocery store in St. Mary's to pick up something we needed. Denny was home. I stopped by the soft taco shells and thought, wonder if Denny would like tacos tonight for dinner. It's been a while since we had them. So I called home on the cell phone. I didn't hear any ringing, just silence. So after a couple seconds, I say, "Hello?" Denny responds back, "Hello?" I'm like, "Weird. I didn't even hear it ring." He said, "Yeah, weird. I didn't hear it ring either." He said, "I just picked up the phone to give you a call to see if you wanted to have tacos tonight." I said, "You're not going to believe this. I'm standing right by the taco shells. I called you to see if you wanted tacos tonight." So even miles away, not even close to each other, we thought the exact same thing at the precise time that our phone connection instantly just connected an electrical device was just immediate. Things like this happen to us all the time, way too many times to even count. We used to joke with each other, "Get out of my head." Okay, this is a song that Denny and I used to sing together and to each other for the last 20 some years. We just love the words and meaning. It was written by a friend of ours, Russ, who we met when we first moved to Idaho, about the same time we met Angela Whitaker. Russ and Angela came over to our first little Idaho home on top of Black Lake Hill, and Denny recorded them singing this song. So I will play this for you.
All of my tomorrows, I've left my yesterdays. I've been loving you. The time stands still. This whole world quits turning. The fire below quits burning. I've been loving you. I've been loving you. I've been loving you.
Again, I would like to thank each of you for coming today to show your love and support. As we partake in all this wonderful food and converse with old and new friends, we will be playing Denny's music in the background. This will be from various times in his life. Some will be from when he was playing on stage, some of him solo singing or playing a musical instrument. Also, songs from his Reflection CD, along with some of his favorite artists. So kick back and enjoy. As for me, it is now my time to say aloha to the love of my life and best friend. Denny, thank you so much for loving me and being the best friend and husband anyone could ever want. I have always loved you, always, ever since the first time we met. I believe we had and do have a heavenly connection and that our souls have met many times before. As we said to each other, we knew we had been blessed to have had each other yet once again. Until we meet again, my love, I will be loving you. Last breath I take, I will be loving you. Aloha, my love. I will love you forever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever.